being overwhelmed by having stuff to do and not being able to be like, okay, I need to do this.
Time management as well, forgetting things. It makes you feel like you're being lazy, but actually you're really stuck. A big chunk of it is feeling overwhelmed by small tasks.
Yeah.
And then you get guilty because I know I can do those tasks as well. So
I'm starting to worry because it sounds a lot like me as well.
Maybe.
Now. I'm like, jeez, it's a bit too close to home.
Whilst I love playing shows, I find it really scary to flying, jet lag, things being out of time. I was really young and was just having people make a schedule for me. I hadn't done it before, so when you do something for the first time, it's kind of exciting. There's a lot of adrenaline and you're just kind of running. It's only really when you stop and then you catch up with yourself and be like, oh, that's actually quite unsustainable.
Yeah.
That's not how I should treat my actual human body. That's weird. A lack of motivation even though you're motivated.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying because you feel like your brain's going but your body isn't, and you can sit and think about what you want to do all day but you just can't do it.
So is it a sense of like being overwhelmed by having stuff to do and not being able to be like, okay, I need to do this.
And time management as well, forgetting things. It makes you feel like you're being lazy, but actually you're really stuck. It's just quite a strange feeling because a lot of the time it's not like I'm depressed.
Yeah.
But I might be, but it's very hard to tell because actually it might just be that I have very low dopamine that day.
Yeah.
Do you know? And some days it's not the same. But I guess, a big chunk of it is feeling overwhelmed by small tasks.
Yeah.
And then you get guilty because I know I can do those tasks as well. So it just keeps spiraling.
God, I'm starting to worry because it sounds a lot like me as well.
Maybe.
Now. I'm like, jeez, it's a bit too close to home. But I'm kind of like, because I'm in that thing, I know we were kind of semi-joking before about the productivity thing. I'm so like in a productivity zone, but when I'm not in it, that's when I'm like, oh my God, like.
Well, we tend to be more like, well, I say we as if I've just diagnosed you, but like people with ADHD tend to be more motivated when it's something they're good at.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, that might be the thing. So just do more of what you're good at.
Yeah. So back to the kind of original point was we were talking about like that kind of
planning.
Not planning and just doing things and the freedom of it. And it's like, this year I've become so in that zone of like just wanting to be free to do things and not have to put the pressure that comes with like planning and trying to execute things. And it's like you just take one thing at a time and see what happens off the back of that, and then do the next thing and then do the next thing, kind of, that's what,
because it's easy to get excited about loads of things all at the same time, so you end up like wanting to do all of them and then you start all of them and like very unlikely
that's totally me.
Finish.
That's totally me.
I do that as well because I get really excited and rile myself up about something and then I do all of it and then nothing gets finished. But I do think that I guess we work really well on schedules and planning and like routine. Yeah. And whilst I don't like to plan kind of things all the time, I feel pressure from a session, like a writing session that's been arranged. Maybe I won't write well that day and like I'm completely cool with that. But it's about kind of putting a routine in place that you can kind of weave.
Have the freedom to do stuff.
So like whilst I'm here being like, oh, I just make it up as I go. I kind of don't, but I kind of do. Like I don't plan what songs are going to happen. And like, but how
does that play into your songwriting process and your creativity? Is there a benefit to the ADHD in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. People with ADHD are more sensitive to sound and colour.
Hence the bright coloured jumper.
I don't even know. I think it was just because it's large and comfortable. But yeah, maybe that's why I like it. And so like if something is sounding sad, something will sound even more happy. If you find something happy, I really enjoy like making like visual stuff as well. And that's, I guess, I'm really motivated by that. And I think, I think it definitely helps. I don't know, maybe it's just the way I will interpret a feeling or something and try and convert that into sound. Yeah. I guess it must be different. It must be, try not to think about it too much because otherwise I will think about it too much.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just don't know. But like, I mean, the most structured it gets is I have people I enjoy working with and I tend to work with the same people a lot because I like that comfort and routine. And every now and then I kind of push myself and work with new people and try and keep it structured. And also just like where my levels are with overwhelm and stuff. So I keep it to 3 in London a week maximum. Yeah. Or, like just things that I need to do to make sure I'm well and feel well enough to be able to go and do my work as well as I possibly can. So like, you know, I'm doing that so I don't have to, so I get to come home and actually eat and sleep properly more nights than not, you know, and just basic human things that I try and keep as much control of as possible.
So have you got any advice then in terms of being true to yourself?
Yeah, I think it's about learning to say no, actually. A lot of the time I just didn't know how to say no, really, because there's all these lads in suits and I'm like a teenager, like, okay. But yeah, learning to say no, really, and having clear goals as well, knowing what you want. So you can be like, these are my goals, everyone, like, look at them, this is what I would like, please. And feeling like you can ask for what you want. And actually from, like, I think it's, especially for girls as well, it's like walking into a room full of lads and be like, this is my checklist. I want this, and this. It's quite daunting, but like actually people find that really helpful because they know what they're doing. They know what direction they're going in. So yeah, definitely knowing what you want. And then if you have clear goals of who you are and what you want, then you know what track you're on. I guess you're not just like taking everyone else's influence and it getting muddied. But saying that though, it's good to also like take other people's ideas. And if someone has an idea about you working with a particular person or like, how about this producer? You're like, oh no, but they're a house producer. It's like, yeah, no, but it's so weird, it might work. And it's about knowing when to say yeah as well and to try those things. I'm really glad I did try some things and they worked. So yeah. You can't say no to everything. But it's about choosing the ones that you do want to try, I guess. You
mentioned the kind of anxiety and depression side of things as well. Like, at what levels do they come into play in terms of like, when do you have like the depressive like lulls and then the anxiety kind of buzzes, I guess they are? Yeah.
Well, for me, I kind of think of it as like having a cold on my head like that. So if it's coming, I know it's coming. Obviously they're like physical symptoms to look out for and stuff, but I think it's just about having like a mental toolbox of things you can do. I know that like it's really hard to call them like triggers because it's not like, oh look, I ate a blueberry, oh that's one of my triggers, I'm depressed now. Like it doesn't work like that. But I know that if I haven't had enough sleep or I haven't been eating well or how I usually would do, if I've had a particularly busy week and then I have a day off, it's usually that day off, so I'm like, I prepare myself and try and work around it. Like it's kind of, and I mean it's a lot easier when you have a name for it as well, and you're like, oh, it's just that, do you know? But I think it's, again, that's where routine helps as well, because it just, I think surprise is not nice. Change kind of kicks it up as well. So it's just about having everything really planned and no surprises and everyone knows what's going on. And then when those things start sliding, that's when it starts to kick in. I'm a really bad traveller, for example. I find, like, whilst I love playing shows, I find it really scary to play shows and like the flying, jet lag, things being out of time. I don't like that. Okay. And I find that really difficult. I just go along with it, I guess. But it's like from doing it, you know, and then stopping and then doing it again, I was able to work out what bits I didn't like and what bits did work. And I guess as well, I was really young and I'd also was just having people make a schedule for me. I hadn't done it before. So when you do something for the first time, it's kind of exciting. You don't really, you're kind of on autopilot. There's a lot of adrenaline and you're just kind of running. It's only really when you stop and then you catch up with yourself and be like, oh, that's actually quite unsustainable. That's not how I should treat my actual human body. That's weird. And like it just keeps going and going. So having that time to then go, okay, that didn't work this time. What's different? Made me able to create a routine where I feel like it's kind of controlled.
What are the things then in the routine that you kind of, you're like non-negotiables, like whether you're traveling, whether you're here, whether you're spending 3 days somewhere recording, like what are the things that you're like, I have to get these
basic
done?
Human things. There has to be sleep as much as possible. I get it. Like sometimes things are early, like I get it, it's fine. But within reason, the food situation has to happen. Like we have to all eat. And like just even small things, like I like to, when I travel, I like to take a diffuser with me and have the same smell everywhere because that creates a thing. Or even like my face routine and stuff, just something that like I find it quite grounding to just do the same thing in a different place. Things that I can take with me. I also like to get out and see somewhere as well and not just see it, like, because it gets so depressing if all you're seeing is like a van and then a hotel and then a van and then a venue and then a van and a hotel. Like it just keeps it, and then it just feels like you haven't really been anywhere but you've been away for a month. So like I try and see as much as possible as well.